Okay, hi guys, we're going to have a look at these Anand versus Shirov games, and I've checked the time controls. I'll just put the Procaster chat on the right. Okay, Procaster chat on the right. So let's look at that first game. So there was 2 games a day. So day 1, day 2, day 3. On the first day, Anand had a lead of 1.5 half. On the second day, he increased that lead 2.5. 3, 2, and then on the third day, he increased it again. So each day he crept ahead by 1 point. Let's look at that first game. So on the third, so it's a 1 hour game, I think, with 30-second increment, according to the Week in Chess site. So 30-second increments per move. So let's look at that first game. So I hope the chessboard is going to be okay like this. So Shirov playing white. Oh great. Unfortunately I can't. Can I squish this? Can I squish this? Let's get the Procaster chat somewhere. Nope. I think board only. If I do board view, standard layouts, big board only. So hopefully I can get the Procaster for the chat on the right. Okay, cool. That's working out a bit. So tell me if the board is okay now. Is the board okay here? Looks good. I don't know if it's worth mentioning to the main cafe. Could someone mention it on the main Cube cafe that we're going to go over the 6 games on live? Maybe it's more fun to get a few more viewers before we start. Could someone just put a quick note on the main Cube cafe? Okay. Or should I just quickly mention it? I could quickly mention it on the Cube cafe. Get more discussion going. So one moment. Cube cafe. Okay, invitation sent. Okay, so this was the first game of the match between Anand and Shirov. Sorry, Shirov playing white against Anand. So e4, Caro-Kann. So rock solid from Anand. I think he's also played the Sicilian defence, but he's been maybe, you know, against Shirov he's adapting his opening repertoire. He knows Shirov is a dangerous attacking player, so maybe he's adopting this more solid opening. So e5. Now e5, I think that's been gaining popularity recently. There's been quite a few wins in line with knight f3 and bishop e2, trying to avoid, you know, the exchange of this bishop for this bishop. So I wonder, but actually I think Shirov might be doing something different. Nope, not in this game. In another game I think he might play g4. So knight f3 and now bishop e2. So of course white doesn't want to exchange these guys, because then, you know, he'll be weak on these light squares. Particularly c4 and f5 are going to be weak if he exchanges off the light square bishop. But here White's got this sort of extra wedge in the centre, extra space, and I think Nigel Short's been playing this, bishop e2, with some good success. And there's been other wins recently. So White's got that extra space advantage. But is Black going to sort of try and undermine the d4 square soon? So yes, immediately. So it's like a French defence in a way, with the bishop outside the pawn chain. It's usually there. Taking away from the centre gives White the d4 square, and it's a bit passive actually to play c3. So White's aiming more for piece play, I'd say. So knight c6 is Black's going to try and regain that pawn now. So bishop g5, okay, interfering for the moment, and then taking. Okay, is White really going to try for the d4 square? You know, maybe something like this to aim for d4, or is there something else in mind? Maybe White can try and open up the centre. Actually, I haven't got the score sheet ahead of me, so that's good. So I'm less biased to, and I haven't even played through the games before myself, apart from the quick win. So, Banco Gambito, have you got any questions about this position, or anyone? What do you reckon? White's got a little space advantage here. If anyone's got any questions, just say. So c4. Okay, so he's striking at the centre. D takes is a bit of an open position, and I wonder also now in this position, what about queen d6? Maybe that's playable, as well as bishop takes c4. I don't know. Knight a3. Okay. Bit of a surprise move, but maybe the knight is heading for d6. So he's letting Black take on c5. So one question now is, was queen d6 any good? Maybe Black just continues. If queen d6, maybe just knight a6. Whoops. Queen d6. Maybe knight a6, and that's not so bad. So okay, so knight a3, c3. So trying to fracture the white pawn structure. These pawns are going to be isolated if A and C pawns now, and now knight d7. So still not capturing immediately on c5. Yeah, I don't think queen d6 was that effective. So Banco Gambito asks, wouldn't queen d6 help Black, who's slightly lagging in development? Yeah, I think it wasn't that harmful as it, maybe it looked kind of dangerous initially, but maybe it's not. So knight b5. Anyway, this d6 does seem a problem here, and also c7 is an immediate threat. So does Black have to put up with a knight coming to d6 now? Does he castle, I wonder? Yes. So what is Anand going to do? Is he going to use the d6, or is he going to use the d4 square? The thing is about using the d6 square, sometimes Black undermines with f6, and the d6 might be vulnerable, especially if Black's going to take on c5. So is d6 such a hot square at the moment? Well, it's used. I guess the knight is attacking f5 and b7 at the moment in any case. So this bishop was actually kind of nice, so maybe that's going to move actually. Nope. Doesn't mind knight takes f5. So bishop b5. Not caring about the bishop. I wonder what bishop b5 is doing here actually. I think if f6, maybe White's idea is taking, and for e5 not to be as vulnerable. So bishop b5 seems to be a very specific move for the position. Well, knight takes e5, knight takes e5. The queen's protecting it at the moment anyway. So he's getting rid of that threat anyway. After rook d8, though, if bishop c6, there'll be no threat of knight e5. So it's about e5 and d6, I think, this bishop b5. So bishop g4. Okay, I think maybe bishop c6 now would seem likely, or maybe something dynamic. Bishop c6 and maybe queen d4 even. Inviting bishop takes f3. If the queen was on d4 after bishop c6, maybe that's interesting as well. So h3, okay, not queen d4, keeping his pawn structure intact. If bishop f3, queen f3, then c6 would be on. So bishop h5. Black looks okay. Looks solid. So what has Anand got from the opening? Potentially, there does seem to be f6 coming along for the f-file, you know, dynamic. So how is that going to be parried? So g4. And now, I wonder what the move will be here. Queen d4 still seems interesting to me at least, because it's using that nice d4 square. If knight d3, you know, maybe the rook can move somewhere, like d1. Oh, he does it now, actually. So I'm not peeking at the score sheet, honestly. I'm not peeking at the score sheet. It just seems like a nice centralising move. Okay. So I think White's got a sort of comfortable position. And structurally, we've got symmetry here, haven't we? These two pawns are isolated. These two pawns are isolated. There's potential weaknesses here to exploit. But at the moment, Black's not really in a position. This knight's kind of annoying. Yeah, Benko Gambit writes, Rook FD8 looks kind of sneaky here for Black. Yeah, I think Rook FD8 or the other one, and then F6. But I'd rather keep the Rook on the F-file. If like F3 is a bit weaker than normal because you just played G4, wouldn't you rather have your Rook on F8? Bangatir, wouldn't you rather use the other? Or are you worried about the A7 pawn? Which rook? This one or this one? I'd rather use this one. No? You want to play like F6. F6 is like the classical breakout move in the French defence. But here anyway, the immediate thing is about this knight. It's en prise. So where is that going? The other rook to b8, Gambit writes, potentially to get to the 7th. Yeah, but are there targets? The thing is, you can get a rook to the 7th, but are there exploitable targets? You can have activity which is kind of academic if there are no exploitable targets, and often, you know, that will be a draw. If you can have pressure and it will still be a draw if there's no real exploitable weaknesses. But here, I mean, okay, but what do we do about this c5 knight? The critical thing immediately, is it going to just drop back to d7, I wonder? No, to b7. That's a cheeky little move. Just trying to get rid of that knight then. Okay, and the knight's reinforced. c5. Okay, where is the queen going to go? If the queen, I don't know, goes to f4, then maybe f6, you know, is more attractive. I guess the queen could go to e3, or it could go here. There's numerous places for the queen. Where does it go? It goes to a4. Okay. So he's tying Black down to that a7 pawn a little bit, potentially. Knight takes, rook takes. So White enjoys... It seems to be a small advantage. If he can get rook like d1 and rook d7, that'd be really cool. So f5 finally. But now, has White got the opportunity to keep the f-file locked up with a move like g5? Is that too risky to play g5? Is there like bishop h5 hitting the knight and then g5 will be vulnerable? Maybe g5 is out of the question here. I don't think the queen can come to the rescue there after g5 bishop h5. There's no move. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe there's rook d7 actually. g5 bishop h5 rook d7 hitting the queen, and that would be enough, and then the knight could move. So let's see, is g5 played here? What's your guess, Benko Gambit, or anyone else's? How would you respond to this? You don't really want this f-file dynamic, do you? So what would you guys do here? I don't know myself what was played, so it's an interesting tricky question. Do you risk playing g5 here? What do you guys think? g5? Would you take g takes f? Okay, let's just go on. All right, so rook d7. Aha. Web 2 toe g5. Okay. So queen e8. Just ignoring it. He's just ignoring it. He's got the idea that if fg, queen takes g4 now. Now that the rook is protected by this rook, This queen is free to protect g4. What about the bishop h5 though, Skewer? Isn't this getting tricky? fg, queen g4, bishop h5. Queen g7 mate. g7 will be highlighted. So maybe that's Anand's idea. He can capture now on g4 if fg. So fg, queen g4. So the bishop can't move. Rook f7. Okay. Shirov's fighting back. But his pawn structure is a lot of isolated pawns here, but it doesn't matter. It's the pieces at the moment on the F file. So knight g5, hitting the queen and the pawn. So what's done about that? Ah. Okay, black's going to go temporarily a pawn down, surely here. After knight takes e6, that might be possible to leave white temporarily a pawn up. No, he just plays f4. So I wonder, knight takes e6, maybe that was harmless because takes, and then like rook e8, and then e5 is going to be weak. I don't know, maybe that wasn't liked. Instead f4 was played. So keeping a kind of threat of knight takes e6. Okay, which is now defended, the e6 pawn. Takes, and it looks like there's not enough for white to win this. It looks as though there's adequate compensation. This is quite a nice bishop. But there is a dangerous rook on the 7th. Okay. The game continues. So black does go a pawn down, but he's getting that pawn. It was only temporary. And now these pawns are targeted. So this is a 1 hour match, 30 seconds increment. So it's a, maybe it's getting, they're getting short of time. But it seems as though Shirov's comfortably held this first game with black. And here it seems a draw was agreed. So let's look in overview and summary of that game. If we rewind it, actually I'll just show the board, configure the board to have the replay arrows, so we can go back. Okay. Do I think Anand is better than Gelfand? Probably is going to win that match against Gelfand, is my prediction. So e4. So this was a solid Caro-Kann from Anand, and so I might have implied that Shirov was playing black. No, Anand is one in this match using the solid Caro-Kann. So knight a3. Let's just check this position with a Kibitzer. Was there actually queen d6 here? So knight a3 was given as one of the top moves anyway, but I wonder about queen d6. So knight a6, I think I mentioned that, and that's about equal. Okay, so I think there was no big deal about that. So knight a3 was actually a good move by Shirov, but Anand seems to be playing this quite calmly, and that f-file dynamic means he's not going to lose this game actually. So he challenges the knight on d6. Yeah, oh yeah, much more. Yeah. There's the classic game Nimzovich against Capablanca. It was the disaster with bishop d3 in this variation. Classic. So here there's a bit of excitement here about this e6 pawn. So now, so the other question was why couldn't white have taken here? Let's add a Kibitzer here as well. So was knight takes e6 possible? So queen takes f5. f4 is not mentioned actually. So knight takes e6. Is it a catastrophic blunder of some sort? Actually it might be. Yeah, queen takes e5, of course. And black's actually better according to this technically. There is bishop f5 as well now. So that's not particularly hot to have taken on e6. But the funny thing is, actually f4 wasn't mentioned here, which was the move played. Just queen takes and rook d7. So white did have a small advantage apparently. You know, maybe he blew it here a bit. Just a small advantage anyway. So he played f4, and then it sort of went into a rook and pawn ending kind of drawish position. I think the next game is much more exciting. So let's close that and go on to the next game. So that was a bit, I don't know, a little bit uneventful, I suppose. I wonder how best to do that. If I just click for this next game, will it just change that? Board only. View standard layouts. Board only. Sorry about this. Okay. Oh dear. Oh dear. Not quite there yet. Test of the waters game. A solid test of the waters game. Is that board okay now? Board okay? Board should be okay there, according to me. Is that board okay? Chessboard okay? So we're going to the second game. So this is Anand against Shirov with black. So d4. So knight, sorry, no knight f6, just d5. c4, is there going to be a gambit with e5 or just standard boring Slav with c6, or queen's gambit decline with e6? Standard boring Slav, c6. I assume the chessboard's okay here, or shall I make an adjustment? Looks okay to me. Okay. Okay. So knight f3, knight f6, knight c3. So inviting the winning of a pawn. It's not taken. Just the solid Slav pawn triangle is used instead. So bishop g5. It's all kind of theory, this position. I think this can be razor sharp now. So e4, and black's like potentially weakening the king side, but sometimes ends up casting queen side in this line. So bishop e2. Anand's had good experience with this line. And you might think, you know, b4, it's all a bit sharp. b4, I think e5 maybe. So protecting e4 now. And now as if d5 is going to be played at some point. So knight h5. Anand doesn't mind, I think, losing that bishop. He just plays for d5. Okay, so he's further trying to break up black's pawn structure. Maybe, and also b5 could be loose in some lines. So white's got the h-file dynamic, potentially with knight g5 if queen g5, if the queen isn't there to protect g5. So he takes, and look at this dicing of pawn structure, that isolated pawn. So I don't know if e5 is going to be useful as well to try and get queen g6. It's too early. Maybe this is just theory disposition. Knight takes g5. Bang. Knight takes g5. So is this theory? It looks a bit odd actually, because okay, as well as this pin on the pawn, knight e6 is dangerous looking. If castles, there's knight f7, forking two rooks. I don't know if this position's theory. Would you guys want to see an engine evaluation here to see if this looks better for white from an engine point of view, or should we just carry on? It looks as if it's a bit scary. So a big advantage to white, almost a 1 advantage to white. Interesting. Bishop c5, bishop h5. Okay. And if castle is even worse, knight e6. So bishop c5 is given as black's strongest. Right. Actually, is this board okay? You've got extra space on the left and right. Is this board okay here? This chessboard, or do you want me to shrink the I'll get it more to fit. Okay. So it looks dangerous. Bishop c5, best move. Counterplay against f2 maybe. So check. Oh, this is the engine line. Check. And so how is white getting out of the pressure? He takes on e6. He takes on e6. Let's get this even better. So taking on e6. Wow. Wow. But I think we do need an engine evaluation here. What on earth is going on here? Could the knight have just retreated back? If knight f3, what would have happened there? I think, is knight f3 such a terrible move? There's also knight f7. b4 and black would be okay, just about. Okay. So this is an interesting move that was played. Knight takes e6. And it wasn't like taken. So if he had taken, I think bishop g4 looks tempting here, just to skewer the king against the knight, win the knight back. Yeah. So knight e5. Now knight takes c5. Okay. And the bishop just drops back. Maybe protecting against d3. Seeing what black's going to do. Okay, so f2 is still under fire. Castles. Okay, there's a lot of pressure here. Rook takes g3 is now threatened because of that pin. So b4. Aha. Nice move. Now if takes, I reckon knight d5. No, maybe not. Taking is actually attacking the queen. So maybe taking is actually possible here. But actually the queen here is defending g3. Because if rook g3, then knight d5 checking, you take on g3. So actually it was taken by the queen anyway. Queen d2. So he's on the h6 pawn. I don't think there's any other square here. These squares are covered. So he's on h6 in particular. And it's given up. Is this bait taken? Yes. So this is getting to be a very scary looking position. If you look at these blasting rooks, it seems to be a very strong dynamic going on. Well, maybe not that strong, but wouldn't you be uncomfortable for white in this position? Because the queen's kind of aggressively parked on c5, and the rooks seem quite optimal for pointing at white's king. And yet it's surprising white managed to win this game then. I mean, black is only a pawn down. Wouldn't you say black looks really active here? Bishop c8. So maybe, bishop g4 coming up. Check. Check. Queen h5. So there's no naughty trick with knight f3, is there? Because bishop takes f3 is protecting the queen. Okay, another check. And knight d5! Blimey! Knight d5. And now all of a sudden, if there's a rook on d5, you can imagine it just needs like a little check to try and win the knight, you know, or check here. This knight's going to be vulnerable, well, I expect. So rook takes d5. How can the knight be dislodged? What a spectacular move, that knight d5. Let's have that in action replay. Knight d5. Bang. So here, queen h5, hitting that knight. Where is the knight going now? Now finally, surely f4, now that this pawn is finally unpinned, I wonder about f4. Without, I'm not cheating with the score sheet in front of me. I'm just wondering, f4 looks interesting? No. Okay. So maybe check or rook d6. But he doesn't want to give up 2 rooks for the queen. Okay, Benko Gambito writes, if white gets coordinated, the black king is a sitting duck. Okay. So rook f6. He takes on e5. What's happened here? That looks to be a shocking sacrifice. Is it to do with a technicality? Bishop g4. So queen takes e5, bishop g4. I wonder. The queen takes. I can only see bishop g4 as being useful here. Ah, yes. Sorry, I do vaguely remember this game actually. I did briefly look at this game the other day, and it's a very, very naughty tactic now. Very, very naughty from Anand. So bishop g4, and the problem is here, if the king moves, then queen takes e5 is obviously winning the queen, but there's another even worse problem. If rook takes g4, bang, mate in 1, mate. The king has got no escape square, it's mate. And this is what happened. Was he actually mated? Apparently that's what happened. He was mated. So that was quite spectacular because it looked as though black had good counterplay, good compensation. And it all started to go incredibly downhill here after this knight d5 move. So a nice positional sacrifice, really trying to undermine this huge knight on e5. White can't allow that knight on e5 to stay there in this horrible pin. But it gets access to the d5 square, gets the rooks going. E5 now becomes tactically vulnerable. But it seems like a coincidental tactic that it's not just on e5 but on e8. So Anand, I don't know if he's been extremely crafty in this game. But now he can spot the tactic of the weakness of e8. But it seems very, very naughty tactics going on in this game. I don't know about you guys. That seems to be amazing tactically. From a position which looks superficially kind of scary. If we rewind, it looks a bit scary for black. The counterplay. If we look in overview and summary. So we have here a seemingly modest looking start to the game, where white's only sacked a pawn. He did seem to look a little bit better, but the black rooks were beautifully coordinated, it seemed. And it didn't seem to matter at this stage too much about the black king being the centre. So the knight also seemed, very good. This is an isolated pawn. The knight's sitting right in front of it. It's not going to be chased away. There's no f4 or d4 pawns. That would be too weakening for white. So it seemed a fantastic position round about here for black to have achieved, with white cheekily castling into all of this pressure. That's kind of, for me, that's kind of an eye-opener. That also, the immediate threat of g3 was kind of distracted away with this b4 move as well. So this b4 move, the pawn was just taken, and now this queen d2 move. What on earth actually did that achieve? Could Anand have just done? He got rid of the pin basically on g3. So he gave himself a chance to move his queen to attack h6. But it seems a very, very, technical game, this. Do you think, especially for an hour and 30 seconds increment? Okay, this is immediately threatening knight d5 check as well, winning the queen. It's not just... So the queen has to move again. So now, in fact, in this position, rook takes g3. There will be rook queen h4 check. So the g3 pawn is indirectly defended here. So check, and a few checks thrown in. And now this whopping move knight d5 seems to turn the tables of this game. Are you guys shocked by this game? I'm slightly shocked by this turn of events. I know the king was theoretically loose, but I didn't think it was that exploitable. What do you guys think about this position? Superficially, don't you think black was doing well here? I thought black was doing well anyway. So okay, maybe let's have a break off this. Okay, so that's a stunning game 2. Okay, I'll save that. So that's the first day, Anand Shirov day 1. Okay, I'm going to save this file. Thanks so much.